And we are back on this Thursday night for Star Wars News Net Live. It's Thursday night once again. And guys, something kind of happened this week in Star Wars. And thank the Force it did, because I think that I was about to lose my mind if we had to wait any more time for the Acolyte to finally drop on our TV screens or theater screens for some of us. Thank you to AMC for allowing me to go see it in theaters and the rest of us that were there. It was kind of nuts. I don't know if you guys were following any of the fun stuff going on for the theater releases, but in my theater, there was people in cosplay. There was literally someone sitting down as we were waiting in line, reading Light of the Jedi, just sitting there reading the High Republic book that started it all, like in line. And I'm like, this is fantastic. And I sent this, Jay, probably, I don't know if you saw this, but I sent in the chat. I said how, I don't want to hear that Star Wars is dead from anyone when we got people reading Star Wars books in line in cosplay for a completely different era. They were like in Rey cosplay, reading Light of the Jedi. And I'm like, you can't tell me Star Wars is dead. We got 500,000 years worth of difference between those characters. And we're waiting in line to watch these two episodes that are going to be on our TV in 24 hours, but we cannot wait any longer. Thank you for hopping in on the channel, everyone. You can subscribe to us here on Star Wars Newsnet. Thanks for hopping in. If you are listening to this on Apple or Spotify, where you get your podcasts later on, please go ahead and... I'm sorry, I just saw Soul Patrol on Luke's name. Sorry. Go ahead, give us a follow, leave us a review. We didn't have a ton going on in the Star Wars universe other than the Acolyte this week, but be sure to look at Star Wars Newsnet for a few comic book reviews that are coming out. My Temptation of the Force review came out last week for the new High Republic book that drops next Tuesday. And we had a video drop on the channel today. Our own Nate, he interviewed some people who did the Return of the Jedi, like visual, like dictionary, behind the scenes. It's like a really massive book, and the interview is really good. It's peppered with cool, fun, behind-the-scenes stories and talking about how a project like that comes together. And then Miguel and I this dropped over the weekend, last weekend. Miguel and I sat down and we talked about everything you need to know for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, anything from pre-production stuff to post-production, what that's going to look like, how long this shoot's going to be, and why that's important. And of course, like, is Pedro Pascal going to be in The Mandalorian? So check out that episode as well. In The Mandalorian, as in, like, his face going to be in it. Like, obviously he's going to voice it, but like, do we care at this point, like, about the voice? Like, it's all about, is his face going to be in it? So,
I'm good with Brendan Wayne. I'm good with Lateef Crowder. Right. Let's roll.
I'm down for that, but I would like to see Pedro Pascal to some degree. But it's fine. It's whatever. Conversation for another day. And then Luke and I, we had a episode that's going to drop this weekend where we dissected and talked about all of George Lucas's comments at Cannes Film Festival a couple weeks ago. So that's basically all that's going on in Star Wars Newsnet world right now. Be sure to look up all our other articles and everything for the other things going on in Star Wars that aren't Acolyte. But that is not why you are here this evening. You are here to talk about the Acolyte Season 1 of 50 seasons that we're going to get of High Republic shows. I'm just kidding. But episodes 1 and 2 just dropped. We just saw on Twitter, I don't know if you guys saw, 4.8 million viewers here. So biggest Star Wars debut, 24-hour debut ever. Let's just go ahead and open the floor up let's just make it brief, like 30-second, 1 minute, just how do we feel about the first two episodes? And then we'll start diving into the different character dynamics, some of the stories, the visuals, the choreography, all of the good stuff, theories for the future that we want to talk about. Luke, Jay, joined by you two as always. It's a good time to see you both. Jay, I throw it to you first. Just give me a quick synopsis of how you feel about the first two episodes.
You're going to throw it to me first? I don't know if you want to do that. You know what? So I'll say this. I thought it was.
Jay, could you turn your mic up just a little bit?
Ooh, you can't really hear me, or?
I couldn't hear you very well. To be honest.
Oh, okay. Ooh,
I just felt like there was a hot take coming.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying that in like, oh my gosh, like Jay, turn up the It's like no, but like
No.
yeah, I couldn't hear you.
Luke, do you want to try give your take first then while I adjust my audio issues?
For sure. I'm a massive fan of the High Republic, so this was really exciting to me. I loved both episodes. I think we're headed in a really good direction. I love the characters so far. I think Leslie Headland has created something really cool here, and the era feels like a really cool mix between what we've seen in the publishing initiative and what we see in the prequels. So I feel like we're in a cool midway point, and I am excited to see what comes in these next 6 episodes.
It did feel like a good balance was struck. Like we have a good balance of prequel to High Republic, and this is a High Republic show, but we also know it's the end of the High Republic era. And so a couple of things that were fascinating to me, we're seeing like the Jedi Order symbol, meaning like a cross between the High Republic main symbol and the prequel Jedi Order symbol. To some Jedi are already donning like darker robes that we see more in the prequel Jedi. Some of those darker browns, and but we still see a lot of the lighter, like the gold, more regal looking robes from some of the Jedi. And
the
then
difference
even
between Indara and Yord, they look very drastically different.
Or I was even thinking too of some of the Jedi and like on Olega, I think is the planet where they're at the end, like some of those Jedi temple, like very brown robes, and seeing the differences there, but also in who uses their lightsabers really quickly and who doesn't. Like the Jedi Master, the Olega temple turned on his lightsaber like instantaneously when he thought that Osha was the one who killed Master Torben. Like Yord is always quick to pull that lightsaber out, while it seems like some of the masters that have been here for a while, like Indara, Master Soul, and even Jeki, who's Soul's, apprentice, they were like never once really reaching towards the lightsaber, and Indara didn't until she had like the knives being thrown at her. It was like a last resort, and Soul never pulled it out. So that kind of was like a good cross between maybe where the Jedi are heading versus like some of the Jedi that are still firmly in this High Republic era. So Jay, go ahead and give us your like just brief synopsis. While you were gone, Luke basically said he feels good about the direction. He's got some questions, looking forward to where we're going next.
So can you hear me now? Like,
I can hear you way better like now. Fantastic.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think we're gonna have a bit of like different opinions on the show, because I just thought that the Acolyte was just okay.
Okay.
I thought it was good. I thought there are things I liked about it, but I think that there were a few things that I just didn't vibe with, and I thought that could have been improved upon. That's not again to say that I didn't enjoy it, because there are definitely I definitely enjoyed like the action choreography, the set production, the costumes. All of the costumes look great. And the environments. I'm glad we're out of like the volume, and we actually have like real sets.
Real sets look good.
Yes, I do think though that tonally speaking, there are some scenes that I think it doesn't fit with the overall atmosphere and kind of just the tone that I was expecting from a murder mystery like this. So just in brief, I think those are just like some of my thoughts right away. And I think, even some of us on the staff, including Miguel, I know had a few things similar to like what I'm saying. One of our old friends who also, used to work with us, Fran, who now works at Space, and he sent us his review, and he had a similar take as well. So yeah, I'm not like a hater or anything, but I do think that hopefully as time goes on, hopefully we get a few of those adjustments, and hopefully it really gets improved upon as the show goes on.
I think what you're speaking to in the tone part is going to back to what they talked, how they marketed the show. And like tonally they marketed the show. And so like I saw the episodes Monday, and I chatted with Miguel, who has seen the first 4, and I chatted with him for a while Monday night, and just via like texting, like back and forth a little bit on Discord. And like we both agreed that like the show is good enough to like I would recommend someone jumping in on this show. Like I think it's good. But in terms of like, yes, this is a murder mystery, like kind of thriller. It felt too obvious. Like everything in the first 2 episodes
Right.
felt too it's a little bit too obvious to where that I don't think that's a bad thing right now because we don't know how the show's going to end. Like we don't know the next 6 episodes. But it
Mhm.
was to the point where I'm like, okay, if this is like a mystery, I don't want this to be a mystery just from the Jedi and we kind of are able to figure this out and we're just watching the Jedi have to figure out what we already know. I would
Yeah.
like to watch it from the standpoint of like I too want to be on this quest with the Jedi to try to figure out
Yeah.
what is happening. And I felt like everything that fell into place in the first episode and the second one was pretty much lined up with everything we were thinking was going to happen, or we could pretty much deduce as it was going. But
Yeah.
I have a feeling they'll turn it on its head at least once or twice, and then it's all about how you stick the landing. It really is. Like Ahsoka to me really dropped the ball on the landing.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I've talked about that a lot. And versus like an Andor took a while, maybe it's like a slow burn to get going, but absolutely destroys once it gets going. It hits that mark every time. Mando early on, like in the middle, can kind of lose its way a lot of times, but usually it's like for the most part, its finales and like its intros have been really good, but it's all how you stick it. So I'm not worried about the show. I'm just
No. Yeah.
cautiously optimistic, I think, in terms of some of that stuff. Luke, where are you going?
Yeah, I've just really quickly, I've heard it kind of framed where if you're trying to look at it as a like who done it story, it's probably going to fall a little flat. But I think it gets more interesting exploring why were these lies spun? Why was Osha told that her twin died? Why was May told that her twin died? So it's more of a like what happened back then versus who is doing these killings. We know who's doing the killings. So it's kind of unraveling why this is happening and what happened. So I think
that's a good point.
Kind of an interesting way that Leslie Headland has framed this question or this show.
Even speaking into that though, and Jay, I want to tell me if you think I'm off on this and if you disagree. I think Jay and I both agree with you on that too. Like I agree that it's not necessarily like a whodunit, so to speak, because I think they know like early on, like it was like, okay, we're gonna know that May's. I still think though the way they framed it is like, okay, we know that these Jedi probably are pretty responsible for what happened on Bendok or whatever the planet was. Brendock. And we're going to find out that they were kind of responsible. And that's why May is seeking revenge. Now there's probably like a lie that some of that's probably being manipulated by whoever this like Sith is, there's probably some degree of that. But at the same time, that feels like I can predict that. Just like I think that it was almost too obvious that Kamir, Manny Jacinto's character, is the Sith, like in the helmet. Like I think that's it. I think maybe I'm wrong and it's something completely different, but it felt pretty obvious to me that he's the one that's doing this and pulling these strings. I think what they're gonna do is I think that's like the obvious thread. So I'm trying to work my mind around they have to do something different. I have a theory for what that different thing is going to be. But I'm curious, Jay, what your thoughts are on that.
Well, the one line that I really honed in on was the line where Master Torben says to May, as May is giving him the poison to drink, he goes, "We thought we were doing the right thing." And I think that kind of ties into what you were saying, Tyler, which is that this is going to be a mystery of why. Why did this person, why did the Jedi do this? It's funny. I feel like if Miguel was here, he'd probably even compare it to even the Last of Us Part 2.
Will never fall short of trying to find a way to bring The Last of Us into conversation, though. That's yes, of course.
But I think, I think he that might even just be like a good comparison because, like in The Last of Us Part 2.
Whoa. I've not played the game.
Oh wow!
I've not played the game. I've not played the game, but I will be watching the show. I make a lot of jokes to Miguel about The Last of Us, but I am a watcher. I will be watching. So
I thought you played it. So
no, I haven't played it. I really don't play a lot of video games, to be honest.
So to avoid spoilers, then I
barely caught you there before you ended my life.
Close
Um,
one.
no, but it's more about like as the story goes on, it reveals why so and so characters
Mhm.
do it. Like
Okay,
that's part of the
yes.
mystery. It's like the
Like the
flashbacks.
motives and the
Yeah,
flashbacks, and we
exactly.
know we're gonna get some flashbacks in this. We've seen that in the trailers. We know the flashbacks are coming, and I would assume, ideally, in the next episode or two, we're gonna start getting those flashbacks. I think it's gonna happen next episode.
I'd hope so, especially with
I think we
Carrie
will
Ann
too.
Moss, like
I,
Max and Dara biting it
in
early in
fact,
the
I
first
will.
episode.
In fact, I haven't seen
Yeah.
obviously the next two. I will guarantee a flashback in episode 3. If that doesn't happen, if that doesn't happen, then I never said that. I'll just edit it, go back and edit this out. But I'm just kidding. But I'm guaranteeing episode 3 flashback. That's what I'm gonna do for my first bold prediction. And yeah, when Torben says, I've been waiting for you, May. And the guilt that's there. He took the Barrage vow, which for those of us who are High Republic fans or fans of like the Darth Vader comics and saw like, what Charles Soule has been weaving there for a while. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Barrage vow, you can here's a quick synopsis. Basically, it was something started by Barrage Sylvain, who is Porter Ingle's sister, Jedi from the High Republic. And she basically, it's called the Barrage Vow. It's when a Jedi feels like great, like remorse over something that was wrong, or they're struggling with maybe even grief, or they're trying to reconnect with the Force in a sense because they feel like they've become disconnected in a way that has clouded their vision. Basically, something happens to Barrage on this mission, and she feels like if she was better in tune with the Force and less clouded, she would have been able to discern what was actually happening and saved many lives. And so basically it's like a vow of solitude. And it looks like Torben took that vow of solitude very seriously by projecting a Force, pun intended, field around him. And I have to admit, I loved the Force field. I thought that was like really cool.
Very
We haven't
cool.
we haven't seen that before, and it makes sense that a Jedi could do something like that if they were that focused and that intense. Like there's all
Seer
sorts of
Junda
things.
in Jedi Fallen Order does something similar.
Okay.
So, if I may interrupt though, like I actually didn't know that there was actually precedent with that. When I saw that in the Acolyte, I actually didn't know.
For the Force field or
Yeah, for
the
the Force
Barrage
field,
vow?
both. I mean, just
Okay.
like both in general. And the thing is, like, that was one thing that I actually had problems with, and that I actually thought was, like I said earlier, kind of tonally weird. Because I like, even though you guys, like, I see why you guys, like, think it's like really cool and everything, but I thought it was kind of goofy, just in the way it was like kind of like came off. Because
I like some goofy Star Wars sometimes, though. I
Sure.
think too.
Like but I even put in like a little tiny video and I sent it to like our Discord group
That
chat
was funny.
where it's like it's like May is like trying to like hit the force field, and then like in the background it's like the Seinfeld bass line going bum 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 bum, and because it did, like, when I first saw it I was like, this is so like out of left field. And so that's one thing that I'll point out that is like among many things that I thought was a little bit off in terms of execution wise. But anyways, what you guys are saying,
yeah, go ahead, Luke, on the Force field.
I thought it was kind of cool. And I don't think we'd heard of the Barrage vow before. Like you said, Tyler, it's been mentioned before in some comics, but I don't think we'd ever seen or heard of someone's story that is happening while they're in it. So we just know that someone goes off and does it, and that's kind of like where the story stops. So I think it's kind of interesting. This is the first time we're seeing someone in the middle of it, and that's like a crux to the episode, to the story. So I thought that was kind of cool that they just showed that. I didn't feel like you had to have read the comics or even know this terminology to understand that, like, he took a vow. It's been 10 years. That's really all you need to know. And he took it because he feels extreme guilt, and we have yet to find out why that immense guilt is there. So it's part of the mystery, is what happens to cause this person to, rather than tell the truth or admit what happened, he wants to cease to live. I
Right.
mean, that is serious stuff.
So in regards to the tonal issues you talked about, Jay, this one didn't
Yeah.
bother me at all. There were some other
Okay.
things that we talked about. The reason why is because I think with Star Wars especially, there's a lot of heavy stuff going on. Like a Jedi Master gets murdered. You
Sure.
have, people getting accused of murder. And I don't want Star Wars to turn into like a dark mystery thriller from start to finish. I think that there is room for dark elements
Yeah.
in Star Wars, but I don't want I don't want that to be the focal point of the entire series when there is a level of the Jedi at their peak. And so there should be some things that happen and some powers at display that show that. And I also love a little bit of like let's have some fun for a few moments too.
Sure.
And the force field for me was a great moment where it was just like I did not see it coming, and it took me out of it for a minute because I was surprised. But once I was just went with it, it felt like okay, this is something new that we're all
Sure.
having to get around. I felt like I was May for a minute, like I was kind of getting like ticked off for like just punch through the force field.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Same for me.
It was one of those fun moments where I think anytime you're able to surprise Star Wars audiences with something like relatively, like Luke said, there was precedent for the force field. I didn't remember that really from Fallen Order, but so like I would assume that as a whole, like the average Star Wars fan probably didn't know that was a thing or could be a thing. And so like I think it's cool if you can surprise Star Wars fans with a new force power that is on the screen for the first time, and it not be something where it's like, oh, like okay, like that makes sense that a Jedi Master could be meditating that hard, that something like that happens. And so I'm like, okay, then and it's an easy way for them to introduce Manny Jacinto's character. But I do understand if that is something that like, because it does, I agree, it drew me out of it for a moment. I was able to reconnect back in, and it didn't really skip a beat. I think seeing that in theaters helped. I really do, because every single person in the audience kind of laughed for a moment. And so it felt like it made it like a communal thing of like, oh, we're all laughing at this and then we're all right back in. It wasn't like I'm watching it at home by myself going like, did anyone else see that? Like did that really just happen? So I get how maybe even different experiences in watching it could affect how you react to something as well. So let's talk about the May Osha dynamic and everything going on there. Because that's, the focal point of this show right now is May Osha and then Soul's connection to both of them essentially through, what happened on Brindok. And so let's start there. We have so many characters to get into tonight and so many plot points to dive into. But let's start with the crux of the show. And I'm just going to go ahead. I'll put this up here for a moment. We're going to talk about these dynamics for a moment. So Osha on one hand and May on the other, which obviously both played by Amanda Stenberg, but which character did you guys find you gravitated like more towards and was a little bit more interesting to you? For me, I know what my answer is. I'm going to lean, towards the dark side of the Force a little bit, but I'm curious what you guys think. Luke, I'll throw this one to you first. Which one did you kind of gather yourself towards a little bit more?
Well, I am your equal and opposite in the Force, my brother. I definitely gravitated more toward Osha. She kind of feels a little bit like a Han Solo, kind of happy-go-lucky, got her vest on, and she's happy to be there on the, ship that she's on with her friends, and they go off to Nar Shaddaa. She didn't. She's kind of a little bit more, she has that background of the Jedi Order that keeps her grounded and keeps her mind sharp, but she's not going wild and going out and partying on the Smuggler's Moon. So I think she's cool. She's cool. I get along. I think I get along with her in real life. I think I'd be her best friend. So,
but what about it? What about our story, though, that gravitates you more than May? Because for me, it's like I'm really curious how May doesn't know who this dark side master is, like this Sith master is, but is so willing to pour them, like completely give themselves over to that side. And it doesn't hint that she's like being coerced or possessed by the Force in any way. So what is it like? That's what is my curiosity speaking. So when it comes to Osha's side, like what connects you to her journey more versus like, yes, like she is pretty someone that like obviously I think I would vibe with in real life, mostly because May would probably be trying to kill me in real life. It seems like I would be
True.
worried for my life.
So
Is it a Jedi that decided to leave the Order, or like what about her character necessarily is more gripping to you?
I think I
And
want
then
to
we'll get
figure
into this
out.
question.
Yeah, I think I want to figure out just more of the history between her and Master Soul, because they
Mhm.
still have a very deep respect for each other, even though something as serious as leaving the Order has happened between them, those two. I don't think she graduated on tonight. She didn't like stop. You know, there was no natural end to her path with Soul. So I'm kind of curious how they were able to end their relationship and continue to be friends and even be cordial with each other and still
Right.
maintain some kind of friendship there. So
Mhm. Absolutely. That's a good
yeah,
point.
I like Master Soul a lot, obviously by my name. So I'm just curious to know more about him via OSHA.
Jay, go ahead. Tell me which character did you find a little more gripping, that you connect with, like more interested in, and then we'll talk about the whole twin aspect in the story.
I'm with Luke. I connected more with OSHA. And I think OSHA just in general was just more charismatic and
Okay.
I could relate to her more. I mean, being someone who like I was a college dropout. And I did go back to college again later, but like I've been in that situation of like, well, I've been on I don't know why. So I keep on getting that thumbs up by
You're
StreamYard.
saying
But
StreamYard is in favor of dropping out of school and then finding yourself and going back. That's what StreamYard's all about. They're like all about the introspective journey. What StreamYard's like, what can you say tonight to give us a deeper insight into your soul, into your being? And so it said, thank you, Jay, for opening yourself up and being vulnerable to the world. Now, please continue why you like OSHA and like you connected to OSHA more. I'll give my 2 cents on this twin
Sure.
aspect.
Yeah, no, but you know, being like someone who's been in that situation of just like having to find oneself and being in a situation where it's like, oh, this isn't a great job, but hey, it pays money. I think we've all kind of been there, and then so like I relate to that. Um, there's some stuff too that like in regards to May, like I think I have to like develop more of a like we as the audience need to find out more about her as well.
Right.
So I think, you know, even in like you said, Tyler, I think in episode 3, the next one, you probably will.
Right.
So.
That's what draws me to May more. We don't know
Okay.
anything about May. We know that to some degree, we know a lot about OSHA. She's a mechanic. She's capable. She's really, crafty with her hands. She can fix things. She's willing to take risks. She's a former Jedi that dropped out, but clearly has a lot of devotion and respect for the Order still. But with May, I have no idea like what her motivation is besides it seems revenge, but what kept her from seeking this revenge out, years ago versus what happened to her after this fire happened to where the Jedi were all like, oh, like, I know she's dead. Do all the Jedi, all do Andara, Kelnaka, and Soul, do they know that she was dead, or was it just Torben that knew that she survived by saying, I was waiting for you? Is this a cover up from all 4 of them? Is this a cover up from some of them? And like, how do these threads all weave together? Because it all centers around her and who her master is, who we don't know, but she doesn't know who her master is either. Like I said before, like willing to give yourself over to, a cause is one thing, but to not know who the leader of that cause is and still being willing to devote yourself for it and risk your life for that and just completely dive into it, to me, that is some either that's like probably a blend of master manipulation, or she has gone through some serious trials like beyond what we know of right now, and that has to be like a big time motivator. And I can't wait to find out like what that was, what were the challenges that she faced, thinking her sister was dead, thinking that maybe these Jedi killed her, and then her only friend is this Sith guy. Maybe, I don't know. I just need to know more about that story. That's where the mystery of it all is really sitting for me. And that's why. So what do you think the whole twin aspect in the story? This is the question we have here. What do you think? Do you like the twin aspect in the story? I'll go ahead and give my 2 cents and I'll throw it to you, Jay. I really don't have a problem with the twin aspect. It's a little too, like, I know it's like too on the nose. They say in like mystery thrillers, you shouldn't do the twin thing because it's a little too obvious. And with Star Wars, it might be a little too obvious having the twins because of Luke and Leia and everything. I really didn't have a problem with it. And I think the reason why I just kind of brushed it off is like, okay, we're doing twins, was the way it was almost written in the show. It was like, it was almost written like Leslie Headland knows it's kind of a little on the nose. So when like Yord and Jecki are like, she has a twin, like, oh, there's a twin. Do you think that the twin could be this? It was almost like Yord and Jecki telling me like, that seems a little bit too obvious. Like that seems a little bit too much. And we know that, but just bear with us and just go with it because it's going to pay off in the future. And so I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to write it out. And maybe in 3 episodes, I'm going to hate the twin theory because they do something that just makes it too much. You know what I mean? But for now, 2 episodes in, I want to see where the show goes. I hate judging a show before it even comes out. Shout out to the Rotten Tomatoes audience score reviewers out there. And so that's where I'm at right now with the twin theory. We can dissect that a little bit more as we go. But Jay, what are your thoughts on on your twin stuff right now?
I'm with you. I actually didn't mind it. And in all honesty, I think it just fits Star Wars perfectly. I mean, of course, twins have been ingrained in the Star Wars. It's been a popular motif ever since the beginning.
Right.
And it continues to be. Star Wars The Old Republic had twins. I forgot which expansion it was, but that was another, popular twin thing. Or just even the whole sibling dynamic, even with like the Mortis siblings. That's another group of families where like it's a dynamic of one's good, one's bad. But I like duality.
Millions of siblings out there, all connected together through Kaminoan technology. Sorry, I'm done. I'll see myself out.
That's probably the biggest sibling dynamic there is. No, but I do enjoy the duality aspect because even it goes right there in the title, just in the titles of the episodes where it's like revenge / justice, and so all
I love that little flip on the episodes, like from a certain point of view, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so all throughout Star Wars, there always has been some duality of like good versus bad, yin versus yang. So in all honesty, like I was like, oh, this is just Star Wars. So that's how I feel about it.
I'm with you there. That was really good. That was really good points on just like the duality of it all and how that's pretty core to central to what Star Wars has been. Luke, what do you think about the twin aspect in the story?
Sorry for the lack of diversity, but I do agree with you both. I think that if they would have tried to do like, hey, audience, you know that this is twins, but we're going to wait until episode 8 to reveal it to the characters. Might have been it would have got old, I think, and I think Leslie Headland knew that. So I'm glad that that's out of the way and that's out in the open.
Yeah.
And like Jecki and Yord kind of were like our stand-in audience members to be like, hey, I see this, and isn't that a little obvious? So it's like they were us in that moment. So I'm glad that we can have that out of the way and get to something bigger and more impactful and deeper. So
speaking of Jecki and Yord, can we gotta talk about the dynamic duo themselves. Like the sibling, it feels like, a classic sibling rivalry type. Like I feel like my younger sister would talk to me like Jecki talks to Yord. Like my dad's like, hey, we're Jecki's like, who's coming with us to go out to eat today? And is it anyone coming with us? And my dad might be like, yeah, your brother. And he's like, what's wrong with your brother? And he's just Tyler. Like, he's just Tyler. Like, I feel like Jecki's like, he's just Yord. And the Yord horde out there, the social media dynamic with the Yord memes are so funny. This is a good comment here. I'm glad that we got the twin mystery out of the way. Do you think we're going to have a dyad with these twins? I do not think there's any way we'll get a dyad with these twins. It's possible that they are doing something like that. It's definitely possible because you could see, especially if Manny Jacinto is actually the Sith, like, and he looks at Oshi, he's like, you look just like her. The wheels could be turning about what this could mean for their power. To me, it feels almost like their connection is like this deep force connection between the two, just because of like the bond that they have as twins, kind of like a Luke and Leia situation of like when Luke is dangling, in Cloud City, and Leia's like, he reaches out to her with the force and says her name, and she knows where he is and can go find him. I think that's kind of more of the connection that we're gonna see from them. What is MB Wilson says
MB
that
Wilson.
could be that the Jedi saw something troubling and a dyad type thing, and that's why they only took Osha.
And
That could
would
be
make
really
May mad.
And May is furious about being left behind.
She's furiosa.
She's we're bringing the franchises together. She's furiosa. I'm furiosa. I am the other dyad. Do you have it in you to make it epic? Is from the so what Master Soul said to May, and then she said no. So he's like, all right, and then just drops her in the flames and walks off with Osha. Oh my gosh, just your range. That actually is something that could be fascinating. Jay, do you think there's any way that that's one where they just only took like one of the twins? They didn't want to take both of the twins, and so they just kind of left May to die. We've seen the Jedi do this in the past with when it comes to siblings, taking one and not the other, and that coming back to bite them with the mother from Phase 2 of the High Republic.
I was just about to mention
those
her.
Zevrons.
I was just about to mention the High Republic Path of Vengeance. That's where the mother, it's kind of revealed. Sorry, spoilers for the High Republic books. But no, like that's another story where it's like, hey, here's the villain is someone who wasn't picked by the Jedi. So I think that could be definitely something at play. That's a really cool theory. I really like that.
That's a good one. So let's go back to the Yord Horde, because that's the main point of the show, is clearly to give us this dynamic. And the question that I have for both of you is, and this is a little question, is Yord a tool? And even if he is it okay to love him anyway? Because I have to confess, I think Yord's massive tool. I do not like Yord at all, while simultaneously I feel like he's so endearing and I love him to death and never want him any harm to come to him. At the same time, Jade spoke of the duality of Star Wars earlier. I'm experiencing this duality with my relationship with Yord's character right now. So I'll throw that to you, Luke. Where are you at with Yord? Is he the worst while also being the best at the same time?
So I think that I am pretty sympathetic to him. I know he's got some toolish qualities, but I think he's someone who, to a fault, craves structure, and the Jedi Order gives him that. And I can see a lot of myself in that. I definitely operate better when I have more structure in my life, and maybe when it's from an outside source and I don't have to create it myself. So I really relate to him from that point, and I think that it is going to be his downfall, that he is too bookish, and he doesn't think enough on his feet. And so I think that his foil is Jecki, who is so much better at thinking on his feet. I think I have a little bit more love than maybe the average person would for Yord.
MB Wilson says Yord is the kid in class who reminds the teacher to assign homework on Friday.
That is unfortunately true.
Like there's but see, every class needs a Yord. Like the other classmates need someone. It brings the rest of the class together in their unification of hating the student who reminds the teacher to do the homework. See, like, so he is the worst, but see, he's the best because he has united people. Like the way I've seen the Star Wars fandom unite around Yord being the worst and the best at the same time. I'm RG. I'm afraid to tell you. He said that he's hoping Yor doesn't fall to the dark side or get killed. I hate to tell you, but I have seen a vision in the Force, and Yord is getting absolutely decapitated. There's no way. I said this before the show started to Luke and Jay, but like guys, I'll say it again. There is no way Yord faces down with the guy who's underneath that mask with the red blade and comes out unscathed. Like there is no way this guy is everything, because that kid who assigns the homework is probably or gets asked the teacher for the homework. That's the same one that like when you actually hit him with something hard, they're like they might freeze a little bit like, oh my gosh, like this is actually happening. And so Yord's he's always quick to draw the lightsaber. He's gonna see the hooded figure back. He's gonna draw the lightsaber, see the red bladed knighted back, and he's gonna look to the side and be like, no, get me out of here. Jay, is Yord the worst?
No, I actually think he's all right. Okay. I'm with Luke and with RG, actually. I actually don't mind him. No, but I think, yeah, he does have like some dumb ideas, but at least he's trying, right?
Yes. No, I'm not saying I don't like him. Well, I don't like him, but I love him at the same time. Like it's like this real thing. Like you are literally the worst, but you're so endearing. Like you're trying so hard. I literally have students like I'm a teacher and I have students where they might like not know. Let's say they know nothing about like basketball, right? Like they don't know anything about basketball. They know that Mr. Bradshaw really likes basketball. They might try really hard to like say comments a lot about basketball, and it's like you got to stop. Like you got to stop. But like I also love the fact that you're like trying so hard to like make a connection. Like, and I really respect that too. But when you just came to me saying that like Mr. Bradshaw like isn't like and they like look at the Oklahoma City Thunder roster and I'm like, yeah, Chet Holmgren, he's like probably one of the best players in the league already, right? And I'm like, he's really not. I'm sorry, people, for the sports like analogy. He's not, but like I appreciate what you're doing. It's like Yord's like, we're gonna go in. I'll stun her. We'll create the perimeter. I'll stun him. We'll drag him back for questioning. And it's like everyone looks at him like, we appreciate what you're trying to do here, but it's so off. Like it's so off base. I'm sorry. And I felt his facial reaction when Soul says, we're gonna go with the Padawan's plan. Just the jaw drop, like one of those was just priceless. Like you couldn't help but feel bad for him while also laughing at him. And that's just I think he's not really a fleshed out character, but I think it's perfect the way he is fleshed out.
Sure.
Where he's like a walking meme almost at this point.
His Padawan is cool. Tassie, Zygerian Jedi in live action.
Okay, let's dissect that for a minute. The Zygerian Jedi live action. But why isn't she on this mission? Why didn't he invite his Padawan on the mission? Is like he just left her to fend for herself? Like go twiddle your thumbs, learn about how to try to trick Nemoidians into telling you where the people are on your ship.
He went on a quest to the hidden city.
What?
I don't know. We don't know.
No, that's a serious question. He's not bringing her on this very important mission where there's a big group of Jedi.
Yeah.
Presumably she might be a little safer, but he was going to go take her solo to arrest the person they thought just murdered a Jedi master, like on their own. But he brings the Padawan for that. Like, does Yord hate his Padawan? Jay?
That's a good point.
I'm just kidding. Like, really? What? Where? We just dropped her off. See you later.
Actually, no. I mean, that is a good point, though. I mean, it's like, what happened to his Padawan? And yeah, like, why bring her to like a possibly like dangerous assassin who obviously has some capabilities.
So let's bring it into Jecki now, and because it's all about the duality. We're talking about the opposite side, the competent, wise beyond their years, like way ahead of the curve, Padawan and Jecki. We've seen this type, before. Reminds me a lot, and it reminded me just similar to like the Leslie Headland, Dave Filoni, sit down, like brief snippet we got. It was kind of like that, like with Ahsoka. she's very much capable.
Oh,
You
yeah.
could just thrust her into the action. She's gonna have really good ideas, plans. She's composed, and I love seeing like Daphne Keene is really cool, and she just owns it. Like she just owns the role. Like Keene owns the role of the Jedi Padawan, the competent Jedi Padawan. And I don't know if you guys saw the spot where like she has the lightsaber. I'm wondering if it's like a retractable lightsaber where because she has two blades she's fighting in. And like there's this brief snippet where she's fighting with two green blades that I saw. And I wonder if she have like a retractable lightsaber or if she has two lightsabers that she has. So like the Ahsoka comparisons to me are like still flying. She had two green lightsabers in one of the brief spots. So I want to know, like, what were you guys' thoughts on like Jackie? Were you guys annoyed that she seemed to like know everything and be the know-it-all, or do you think it's nice to have kind of that playful like back and forth, you know, between these two characters?
I'll say this, like, I think her makeup looks a lot better in live action. Like in motion, I was like, okay, this looks a lot better than the just stills and the photos that we got before the show. Mm-hmm. So
I think a lot of the lightsabers look better in motion, like
yes,
a little bit that we saw versus
yeah.
It's weird to know when they release some of those images, are those like when are they going to put some of those through more editing and post-production? Because sometimes it look very clear that there's very little effects that have gone into it. It just looks like the glow stick. And then other times, like when Indara had her lightsaber, it looks so good. Like
it looks
right
good.
there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but in the image that they released 4 months ago, it looks like the glow stick just sitting there with
it looks
a little
just
bit
like
brighter light around it.
It looks like it's like taken on sets, and you know, they just didn't edit it at all, right? Not an actual like still from the actual show. So
let's talk about the Sith. Like Luke, like I want to throw this
thoughts
to you.
on Jackie.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna. Sorry, I forgot to throw you to Jackie. I'm sorry.
Dare you? Nothing too long actually, and also, please don't hate this. This does not mean I don't like Jackie. I do like Jackie, but I was a little annoyed with her that she was like kind of a know-it-all to me, seemed to me. So I was a little annoyed with her, but she's a Jedi. I love the Jedi, and she's with Master Soul, and I love Master Soul. So she's got a lot going for her in my books, but I found her like, how many times have I been bested by this know-it-all kid? That, like,
there has to be that
I
one.
can relate
dude,
to.
You're
like,
saying how many times? Welcome to my life, dude. Like I literally teach 14-year-olds every single day. Like welcome to my life of having like a know-it-all teenager actually, and you can't ever let them know that they stumped you on something. Like you can't let them know that they got you, because if you let them know that they got you,
they'll never let you forget.
Yeah, they'll never let you forget. And I like those are the kids, like you love those kids because like they're brilliant, but they drive you insane sometimes. Like there's times where I slipped. There was one time I slipped up and I said like the wrong thing, and they corrected me on it. And then I tried to like, you know how if you ever like send a text you don't mean to send to someone, so you like spam with a bunch of gifs or something like to like erase it. You just spam their texting like a bunch. I was like doing that with like a student one time where I'm like, I'm just going to change the subject like really fast and do all of this and that. And we're going to move on to the next assignment. So like, we're all going to forget that I messed up. Let's go to Kamir. Is that how you say his name? Kamir?
Sure.
All right. Kamir. Manny Jacinto's character, who is a guy that's like down on his luck. He somehow is like whipping up potions or poisons.
They call him like an apothecary, right?
Like apothecary, yeah. And so he's like the apothecary but he's also like laying back, like drunk, like had like a crazy night out. But then, I'm sorry, it seems a little too obvious. And we talked about this before. Like, do you guys agree with me? He's the one in the mask. Like he has the red blade in the mask.
I'm buying into it.
Okay.
I'm not fully convinced, but seems likely.
Just the way he talks versus the monologue that what we believe to be a Sith talks, I think is very similar. And given the fact that it was very interesting, his dynamic when acting all confused, but when Osha, he got right in Osha's face and he was just like, you look so much like her. Like you look just like her. It was almost this darker, more menacing tone. It was like a shift in the lighting that changed. And then when May confronts him and he just immediately turns the tables on her, knife straight to her neck. It's like, okay, there's something going on here that we're
And also,
unaware of.
we're very well acquainted 2 episodes in how much of a physical threat May is, and for Kamir to just easily overpower her and beat her in like a little alley of like, hey, stop, the Jedi are watching. Like, he's got a lot more power than we've seen. So
and her face is a little shocked that he's able to do that. If you look, like, she's a little, whoa, like, didn't know that you had that in you. And so I think he's that person in the mask. I think what makes the most sense to me for them to switch this on our heads is if he's not, like RG is saying in the chat, like another acolyte, him being like the apprentice to the real like Sith Lord, and whoever that Sith Lord is, I believe, is aware of what he is doing and just kind of like saying, you're the apprentice seeking the power. I'm going to let you see how far you can get away with this. Like, I'm going to let you see like how long you can think you can get away with this. And then Manny Jacinto might like really make his move. And then the real Sith Lord at the end of the show might come out and like clear things up, clear the deck for whoever is coming next. Maybe it's for May to take that place. Maybe it's for like a new character to step in. The Jedi think they've resolved this problem, like it's a one-off problem, something else, and the real Sith Lord's like, good, the cover's still laid, and they can start like using what Manny Jacinto's character Kamir did, to pave the way for like their real plans. Like, he is just another pawn in the greater scheme. I don't think that they are dropping this masked villain. I don't think that this masked villain is going to be maybe the end-all be-all villain of the season. Or because I think that they want to build this into a multi-season show. And I think in doing so, they're going to present this as what seems like the villain. And then at the end, it's like, okay, now here's the real Sith Lord coming in that's going to maybe start laying the groundwork for the future. This is an interesting one. Is he really an apothecary, or did he kill the apothecary and take over his business? It said he's like new to town. They hadn't seen him there before.
Yeah,
so
he was new to town.
Either, yes, he just killed the apothecary and took over the business, or
there was a comment that like, that's not the normal guy.
Yeah, maybe he's on vacation. He went to go visit the lakes of Naboo, and it's just very timely. Nothing horrible happens. It's very nice, timed it perfectly. Everything syncs together, nice and lovely. Who knows? So, what do you guys think about that like theory that I threw out, or what do you think is ultimately the end game with that character, just based off of 2 episodes? Jay, I'll throw it to you first.
I just think that it being Manny Jacinto's character is a little bit too obvious. I think he'd be like, I think that like he as an actor, we see him, he's actually kind of convincing, especially in the way that, he switches on a dime. I think that there is more to that character than we initially see.
Has to be.
Whether or not, I actually do think your theory is pretty good, because I don't think that this is like the actual real villain of the whole thing. I can definitely see like Manny Jacinto's character being the guy who answers to the big boss. Perhaps there is like a big Thanos-like overarching villain throughout this show, and that will lead to another season. So yeah, I mean, I think that like I'd like it to be someone else. Like, I was even contemplating like, let's have it be Yord. But at the moment, I don't.
Right.
So the one person that like we can easily like probably put a target on is definitely Manny Jacinto's character.
Right. That seems the most obvious one.
Yeah.
And Luke, we'll throw it to you real quick, and then we'll talk about what we're expecting next week.
Yeah. So I thought your thoughts were pretty accurate and pretty much line up with mine. It seems like he's going to be the masked character. It seems like he's saying a lot of the rhetoric that we know the masked character has already said as well at the end of episode 1. This piece is a lie, this Sith code that kind of guides both of these characters' lives, seems like. So this seems like a very strong common through thread through thread. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be mad if it's not Chimere in the mask, and maybe he's
Okay.
On the same level as May. Like he's also reporting to the masked figure because he seemed to know who she was referring to or who she was working for, and maybe that's just because May told him, and that's why they were able to openly talk about it in public. But
It's possible that the mass figure said, you need to go to this guy. I know him. Like he's playing these different roles. And
yeah,
it's just like kind of like how, Sidious was, the
that's
like,
exactly what I was going to bring
Newt,
up.
like Newt Gunray
yeah.
knew about Sidious, and everything.
Yeah, so it could be that he's the masked figure and he's keeping that hidden and playing the kind of the Sidious and Palpatine, Sheev Palpatine, Sidious side. So playing her from both sides, getting the most out of her. So I think that's a pretty strong one.
I hope John Pedro is saying that this because we would never suspect Jackie because it couldn't possibly be Jackie. How dare you assume that Jackie could be the person? That would be insane, though. Can you imagine?
That'd be pretty cool, actually.
Like Master Soul's apprentice is actually the one in the mask. Like I don't know how that would work because surely he's keeping tabs on her. She couldn't just disappear for time, but it seems like Master Soul also teaches a lot of other younglings at the temple. Maybe she can just dip out for a little bit. I don't know how that would work. That would be insane.
I think there is a bit of a height difference too.
Hey, it's like, well, Anakin, when he's wearing the Darth Vader suit, he puts on some extra inches there. Like maybe Jackie puts on those boots. There's some serious lifts in there that Jason. Also, we do see Jackie fighting the Sith person in one of the spots. That would be some serious force. That was some serious force work going on there. Like force projection. I'm gonna force project myself fighting myself. That would be now we're getting like way into like the deep end probably here. So episode 3 next week. Here are the things that I think we will see. And then I'm gonna say some things I really hope that we see, but maybe we don't. The witches, Mother Anastasia. I think we're definitely going to see Mother Anastasia, the witches, and the mothers that are like. I think we're going to see Osha and May's mothers, like whoever Mother Anastasia, these coven of witches, like whoever like her mothers are. There's probably another, witch that's with Anastasia that we haven't seen yet. So that'll probably be a new character we see. I assume we're going to see both of them. I'm excited to see this new coven of witches. I think that's going to happen next week. I will be shocked. I feel like if that doesn't happen. Kalnaka, we're going to get a little bit of Kalnaka, I think. I think we're going to get a lot more flashbacks, maybe. I think it might be one of those half flashback, half real time, maybe just a little bit of back and forth. Or it could just be one scene. Miguel, my man. And so I would say, like, I think that's like the main thing we're gonna get. Now, what we're not going to get, what I wish we got, is the fight scene that we see in the trailers with the Sith and the Jedi. Just because, and I told Miguel this when we were chatting, speaking of Miguel, I want to see this, not because, like, obviously it's going to be really cool to see, lightsaber duels in Star Wars. Like, that's always something we're excited for. But, and I think you guys will relate to this. I want what we see in the trailers to happen so early on that when we get to episodes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I have no idea what might happen. But the longer we go, like the longer we go without seeing that scene, the more like I get frustrated because it's like, man, if we're in episode 6 and that happens in episode 6, like we've gone 6 episodes in an 8-episode series, and one of the biggest moments in the series you showed me in like the first trailer, like that would be a little frustrating, I think, for me. Obviously, there could be a lot more that happens with that scene, but that would be frustrating from a standpoint of I don't want trailers to start giving away more than what should happen. Like the Book of Boba Fett, I will rant about this to the end of time about how Robert Rodriguez lied to our freaking faces with an unnecessarily telling us that, yeah, we couldn't put anything in the trailer outside the first 30 minutes of the first episode because it would give away too much. And in the trailer for the Book of Boba Fett, we had stuff from the finale of the season. Like, it drove me insane. Like, I do not want that for
I'll
this
never get tired
show.
of this, Tyler. I want to hear this every week.
Jay, Luke gets at least like every month, like a Robert Rodriguez is a liar to my face, like all the time. Like, it is my recurring bit. So what do you guys think we will see or you hope to see in next week's episode? I'll throw it to you, Jay.
I think a possibility might be more Vanessa Rowe. You know, I think actually that might be this might be the episode where Vanessa Rowe maybe gets involved. And
I thought you were about to say the episode where Vanessa Rowe gets killed, like you made the prediction last week. I was about to cry.
No, I think this
nameless.
I think this might be the episode where, you know, we have seen like her light whip in the clips and trailers. You know, it's funny. It was like I was wondering about this, and I was wondering if we were actually going to talk about this this week. But you know, like Vanessa in the first two episodes, not a great character, especially if like at the end where she's like, "No, you got to return back to Coruscant. We got to have a meaningful discussion about this." I wonder if like maybe she'll have a change of heart, and then, you know, like this will be like the episode where maybe she gets involved, because we know eventually, like from the little snippets, that she will, and that, you know, we will see the light whip. So
great character as in like you don't think she's a great character as in she's not doing the right thing, or great character as in they haven't developed her well at all, or like given her much to go with? I think both are true here, but
it felt weird. Like I was like, why is she so by the book, especially with what we know of her in the books?
Here's the thing. I love Vernestra Rowe. She's one of my favorites. Everyone knows how big of a fan of Vernestra Rowe I am. And so the first time we see the light whip in action, we're going to have an hour about the light whip, you know? And so this first two episodes, I was frustrated with what I got from Vernestra, because on one hand, like, you've been through what you have been through in those books. like, you know, like she has gone through it and then some, and we don't know how that story is going to end. And here you are playing it by the rules. Someone who was once a way seeker, and you're going to be like, by the book, we have to have like, we know that this person is going to try to go kill Kalnaka. We know where he is. Like, we know where they're going. And you want me to go back to Coruscant for like a little chat?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? This is Vernestra Rowe? I am hoping it just was surprisingly for me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't know how the story in the High Republic books ends for her. Maybe something happens that she goes off the book or goes off script from maybe the normal Jedi ways, and that bites her in the butt and she loses another person she cares about. Who knows? It's been 130 years since, you know, where we're at. So there's a lot of character development. There's a lot of story in between where she was as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old to where she is at 140 years old or whatever she is right now. So
I think it's just 100 years.
Is it 100? So it's like 382 BBY.
That's phase 2.
And that's phase 2. And it's 100. That's 150 years before. So like that's like 230 BBY then, like, right? Like it's like 232 BBY is when that starts, which would make was it 100? Is it just 100 then? Like,
I thought it was 132 BBY. That's 100 years before.
I thought it was
okay.
So
okay, so 100.
Oh,
it's still 100 years. Like, there's some story. And I just wanted to say, like, there's some story there. So I want to give Vernestra like a chance, and I want to see what happens with her story, because like she is that character in the High Republic's Jay. You're right, but it is frustrating knowing where she's at right now in the books. But like, there's this big jump, so I don't know what happened. Luke, what do you think about Vernestra?
It's a little confusing to see her be such a... I mean, she goes to being a way seeker, and so for those who don't know, that is someone who does not leave the Jedi Order, but does not now adhere to the rules of the Jedi Order, like kind of just following the Force itself. So for someone to be kind of that out there, and then we
Right.
see that's like the last we know of them, and then for them to come back and be like, we need to have a chat, we need to have a Zoom call about this, we need to have meeting and by the book. So it is a little weird, and I'm wondering maybe if this isn't even her idea to be doing this. I think maybe she's even frustrated herself
Okay.
that she has to be operating this way. So I think that's why she is going to say, you
So
know
it's
what,
Yoda's
this
fault.
is not who I am, and I'm having to operate this way. So I'm going out into the field because this is who I am. This is what I want to do.
That's the story we're going with right there. Like that one right there, where Vernestra's like, I'm so sick and tired of these little green goblins telling me what to do. Like these little, like I'm talking about Yoda and Yaddle, by the way.
Yeah.
Like telling me we gotta have another meeting about this. That would be fantastic just to see Vernestra. I've said for a while, I think she's gonna go Attack of the Clones Yoda in this show at some point and be like the figure that the revered figure that comes in and does something crazy at the end. Just a few comics before we get out of here. Please, God, don't kill Kamlak. We've seen him for 2 seconds, and the fandom is already in love with our first live-action Wookiee Jedi. Like, come on. Like, I cannot wait to see him in action. And the flashback sequence where he's fighting Soul, that's gonna be fun. Like, that's gonna be fun.
Oh boy.
Let's see. Thinks we'll get it early. Fingers crossed. I think it was about the fight scene with the Sith.
Yes.
John also saying maybe Vernestra is the Sith. This
John, how
has
dare you?
to stop. This has to stop. We cannot continue down this path. Do you guys have any final comments on these 2 episodes? I guess we should real quick give a shout out to Master Indara for her service to the Jedi Order and everything that she meant for all of those in the Jedi and the Republic abroad that saw her beacon of light snuffed out far too soon. Jay, before we get out of here too, I want to remember this. You mentioned not being sold on some of the action before. What did you think of when you saw this full scene played out the way it was? What did you think of this one?
That one, well, I think just in general, all the fight scenes are way better when it's not heavily edited. Because the thing is, you see this in just a lot of Western action movies, but not in Eastern martial arts movies, where Western action movies love to cut and have like rapid cuts where you can't actually follow what's going on. And Eastern martial arts movies like Ip Man or Jackie Chan movies, they have long cuts where it's super long takes where, like punch, 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 punch before they even cut.
Okay.
Seeing that, I'm like, okay, much better. And even when I did my research, because I did that report on the behind the scenes choreography. The guys who worked on the Daredevil fight sequences, and I think even like the Witcher fight sequences are the ones who are working on this one. So I do even see like the evidence and like the fingerprints of their work. I think they've done like even the Shang-Chi movie. So yeah, I think the fight sequences, when it's not cut to fit 30 seconds or a minute or however long those short snippets are, so much better.
I would tend to agree. That's a really good point about the differences in how you're presenting your fight choreography. I loved it. It felt cool to watch a Jedi Master be a Jedi Master, like fully in control.
Sure.
And like that difference between I'm not even gonna draw my lightsaber. Like I don't need it. And I'm not going to. The really cool one was when they were fighting too, and it did have that little cup where and then he shows up behind her, like that whole like force speed without seeing the force speed kind of thing. I thought that was, I hate just using the word cool, but sometimes Star Wars is just cool and it's okay for it to be that way. Luke, any final thoughts on the choreography or anything like that before we get out of here?
Final thoughts are that the choreography looked good in my opinion. I loved the martial arts feel that we just haven't really seen before. We got live action Jedi vectors. We got live action yellow lightsaber. So a lot of cool stuff that we rarely or never have seen. It's only the first 2 episodes. So I think we're off to a really cool, really interesting, unique start to this show, and I cannot wait for more.
Well, that will do it for us this week. Couple things before we get out of here, though. Number one is make sure you guys check out the channel. We got Nate's interview with some of the people who interviewed. Nate's interview with some people who wrote the Return of the Jedi, visual dictionary behind the scenes look. Make sure you check that out. Go ahead and give Miguel and I's talk on the Mandalorian and Grogu movie a listen. We have a George Lucas talk from his comments at the Cannes Film Festival that's dropping this weekend. Obviously, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like this video. If you're listening on your audio platforms, give us a follow, Spotify, Apple. Leave us a review. Let us know what you think. And shout out to the University of Oklahoma women's softball team who have been following the score here throughout. Just beat Texas to win Game 2 of the Women's College World Series. No, horns down, Luke, to be the first team to ever four-peat in the College World Series. So shout out Jada Coleman, Riley Boone, Kinsey Hansen, Lisa Brito. The whole squad deserve their flowers always. And Jay, I will throw it to you to tell us about a little something called Good Games Dude.
Yeah, Good Games Dude is my YouTube gaming channel. It's a place where beginners and advanced gamers of all levels can come out and check some videos on developing your appreciation of video games. So I got reviews, essays, and talking about gaming essentials for whether, again, you've played these games or have never heard of them. Check those out. Really appreciate it. Today, I just dropped a video talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which, as you can tell by my Cloud Strife and Tifa Lockhart figures in the back here. Big Final Fantasy VII guy. I love Final Fantasy VII. Finally beat it, and I have my spoiler discussion talking about that ending up on the video that was just uploaded today. So go feel free to check that out right now, after this video. Anyways, as far as Star Wars news and that stuff goes, I have a review of Star Wars Hunters, the free-to-play mobile game that just came out. That review is going up tomorrow, and I have a Darth Maul Black, White, and Red comic review going up tomorrow as well. So stay tuned for those. Luke, tell us about the Timeline Show.
We have just recorded episode 12 of Tales of Enlightenment, and we got some more episodes recorded with you, Tyler, and Brian that are coming out here in the next coming Mondays. So we're going to get moving on that again, and you can expect some very regular updates there. And we'll be moving on to the phase 1 here soonish.
Absolutely. We're almost
Republic.
Yes, we're almost there. Just a few more weeks. Shout out. I forgot Tiara Jennings. You're awesome too. Congrats to all of you. You all deserve all your flowers. Thank you for joining. You can find us every Thursday night live here at 10 o'clock Eastern time, talking Star Wars, everything Star Wars. Going to be everything Acolyte for a while. We're going to have a big time show next week as well. And remember, everyone, for light in life and that we are all the Republic. See you next time.